And we're live.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Nobody's here yet, but they will be. Do you want to tell them what we're doing?
Absolutely. This is Coffee and Conversation with Tom. I'm Tom Bole. I'm an account executive here at Avery Hall Insurance.
Yep, and you have your coffee.
Right here.
There it is. What do you like in your coffee?
Just cream.
Just
half
cream.
and half.
That's what I like too.
Yeah. No sugar.
Yep. No sweet coffee. Somebody's on here. One person.
Good morning.
Hello, one person. Do you want to tell them what you do here at Avery Hall?
Absolutely. I'm an account executive. My job is to find new clients and help them with new insurance, both personal lines and commercial. I do a lot of condos in Ocean City, and I help homeowners, especially in the coast area from, say, Lewis all the way down to Ocean City, Ocean View, Bethany. That's my target market.
It's fun, all the coastal stuff.
Yeah.
My mom says good morning.
Good morning, Mom.
Mom, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. So Tom can do homeowners, auto. What are some other coverages that you take care of?
Some of the things that we help with that other agencies have difficulty with, because we're in this Delmarva environment, we do a lot of flood insurance. So we help people with both primary and excess flood insurance. I'm also very passionate about umbrella policies, making sure that people have enough liability coverage to protect their assets. If you're in an accident, they don't want your debts, they want your assets. And our job is to make sure that there's enough liability coverage there to protect those assets.
So again, if you have questions, put them in the chat. But until you do, I'm going to ask my own questions. What is the most important coverage that someone can have for their personal insurance?
Sure. Well, there's two. And we talked about the first one just a moment ago, liability coverage. We want to make sure that the clients have enough coverage to protect their assets. So we do a conversation and we ask them about, everything they own minus everything they owe. That's their net worth. We want to protect that. So often auto insurance will just have $100,000 of coverage. So people are very underinsured. And you don't find that out until you're in an accident and someone sues you. And the second thing is very important. Because of supply chain issues and increasing wages, the replacement costs for homes have really gone up a lot. And you need to look at your policies and make sure that there's enough coverage to rebuild your house. And it doesn't stop just there, because we also have to worry about rebuilding it. But if it burns to the ground, there also needs to be enough coverage to clean that stuff up, remove it before we start. So replacement cost for your home is very important and often ignored.
Speaking of replacement cost, what is the difference between actual cash value and replacement cost?
Certainly. So ACV, or actual cash value, is the depreciated value of your home, okay? The best way to illustrate that is a roof. When you get a roof, the roofer will say you got a 20, 30-year-old roof. Well, over time, that roof deteriorates and its useful life gets shorter and shorter, okay? So if you have ACV, they're going to pay you for what that value is worth at the time of the loss. So if you have a 20-year roof and it's 20 years old, you're not going to get much, okay? But if you have replacement cost and that 20-year-old roof is damaged, you get a new roof. Much better place to be. So one is to go out and buy a new one with like, kind, and quality. The other one is to give you what that roof is worth at the time of loss. Not a good place to be.
Yeah. Steve is watching. Hi, Steve.
Good morning, Steve.
Next question from me. This is going to be a more personal, fun question. What is the best vacation you've ever been on?
The best vacation ever was my wife, son, and I went to England. We rented an Airbnb and we just explored the city of London for a whole week. It's beautiful. We went to Buckingham Palace. I went to the Imperial War Museum. We did a River Thames cruise. It was just wonderful.
That sounds great. I've never been to London, but one day.
You gotta go.
Steve has a question. He says, good morning, Tom. I'm looking to buy my dream oceanfront home in Bethany. Do I need flood insurance if there is no mortgage? If I need flood, what will it cover?
So needing and having to have are two different things. You need flood insurance when there's a flood, okay? So if there's a flood, you really want that flood insurance to replace the house. Now, mandated, if you have a mortgage that's federally backed, they're going to require you to have flood insurance. But FEMA, who typically is the entity that provides that flood insurance, only requires up to $250,000 of coverage. There aren't many beach houses in Bethany that can be rebuilt for $250,000. So we can provide you a flood insurance policy through FEMA, and then we can do an excess policy from private markets to give you enough money to rebuild your house to what it would cost. Again, $250 probably wouldn't be enough to replace your dream Bethany Beach house.
Mm-hmm. Hope that helps you, Steve. More people have jumped on, so to remind them, you're watching Coffee and Conversation with Tom. If you have questions or comments, or you just want to say hi, you can put it in the chat. But until then, I'm going to ask another question. How do people buy coverage?
You know, most people buy coverage opposite of what they should. People will approach me and say, I'm paying $500 for my homeowner's policy. Can you meet that price? Well, that's the wrong way to do it. The right way to do it is to establish the appropriate coverage. So we establish a replacement cost for the house, making sure that there's enough coverage to replace the house. Okay, very important. Then we talk about liability coverage. Again, we talked about that earlier, and making sure there's enough to cover your assets. And then we go through the other coverages like jewelry, sewer backup, utility line coverage, and we set up an appropriate policy, and I present that to them. Once you have the right coverages, then the great way to do it is then shop the coverages to see who can provide you the best price for the appropriate coverage. You don't buy a price, you buy protection. So start with the protection and work your way to price.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice. Another question. This one's fun. What's a secret talent that you have?
A secret talent that I have. Wow.
It doesn't have to be secret.
I had my pilot's license for a while. So I flew airplanes. So I guess that's a secret.
I could never fly an airplane.
It is it's great, but it's too expensive. It costs too much money. So.
What was your favorite place to fly?
Charlottesville, Virginia. I lived at the time in Frederick County, Maryland, so we would fly from Charlottesville, from Frederick Municipal Airport, down through the Shenandoah Valley, near the mountains, and during fall it was just beautiful with the color changes. And then you'd land into a really cool airport in Charlottesville, and then you park at Charlottesville, and then you go to places like Monticello, or you go downtown for lunch. My favorite place. It was just gorgeous.
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to look down, so I would just miss it.
Well, you know, I'm afraid of heights.
Oh, okay.
But when you fly, you don't have that feeling. It's like being in a car, like having a dashboard in front of you.
Yeah.
So it's not like being on a diving board where you have that perception of height. Your height is the dashboard. You're strapped in. So,
yeah.
Now put me on a ski lift, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
But in an airplane, not so bad.
No, that reassures me. Why did you choose a career in insurance?
Well, actually, it was offered to me from my father-in-law. He was an insurance agent, and he introduced me to one of his partners, and I bought his agency out. So it was just a kind of transition from one sales position to another.
What's your favorite thing about working in insurance?
By far, the most favorite thing is me being able to interact and meet people. I meet people from all walks of life, all income sectors, and it's just really neat to hear their stories and help them understand sometimes a complicated and frustrating topic. So by far the most exciting.
Because people call you on some of their bad days, right?
Absolutely. Sometimes when there's a claim, and I work kind of like a waiter. I want to make sure that I describe the menu to them. I make sure I let them know about their policies so that when there is a claim and that really bad day you talked about, when it happens and they go to reach to use that policy, they're happy with the coverages. Because when you buy it on price, just price, you might not have that good result when there's a claim. So, you know, it's not important until there's a claim.
Yeah,
So,
it's all about preparation.
absolutely.
You can't really get good coverage after something terrible happens.
No, insurance is kind of like skydiving. You need to have that parachute on before you jump out of the plane, because if you jump out first without the parachute, it's too late. Sorry.
Again, if you have questions for Tom, feel free to put them in the chat. You can also just say hi to him. He loves that. My next question is, how do you like to relax on the weekend?
So the favorite thing is family time. We live in West Ocean City, and we live not far from Assateague. So we'll get up early in the morning, we'll load the car up, and we'll head down to the South Beach at the very end of the Assateague National Park, park the car, walk over the dunes, and we'll spend a wonderful day from like 9:30 to about maybe 2 or 3 on the beach in Assateague, watching the ponies, watching the dolphins come up and down. And it's relatively secluded compared to a lot of other beaches.
Yeah.
So, and it's always neat to see the ponies and, you know, walk through the beach and things like that.
Yeah, Assateague's really nice. Steve has a question. In regard to uninsured motorist coverage, is there a recommended coverage limit that I should have to be protected?
Steve, another great question. So uninsured motorist coverage is also a very important coverage. When you're in an accident and the other person hits you, their insurance should pay for the injuries and damages that they cause. But often people make compromises, often based on price, and they don't have a lot of coverage. So if you're in an auto accident, your policies, both your auto policy and maybe even an umbrella policy, can provide uninsured motorist coverage. So that pays you for the injuries you incur, okay? So what's the appropriate amount? Well, at a minimum, you want to cover your assets, okay? But if it's your injuries, you know, the more the better. But typically, most carriers will, under the auto policy, will require you to have no greater than what your liability limits are. But we can provide an umbrella policy that gives you uninsured motorist coverage in it. So it could give you an extra $1 million or more of uninsured motorist coverage. And those claims are the claims that you bring home. Those are the ones that you can't walk away from. So uninsured motorist coverage is very important too. Good question.
Good question, Steve. Paula from our Easton office says hello.
Hello, Paula. How are you?
You mentioned umbrella insurance. What is umbrella insurance?
Good question too. Catastrophic liability coverage. So when something really bad happens, an umbrella policy spans your other exposures, personal exposures. So it's over your home, it's over your auto, your motorcycle, your boat. So if you hit that swimmer in, you know, the Chesapeake Bay, and because you weren't paying attention, your boat policy will cover a certain amount, but then an umbrella policy could trigger after that policy's coverages have expired and give you more liability coverage. In addition to paying that third party, that injured person, for those injuries, it also includes defense coverages, and lawyers' fees can be very expensive, and it is part of that. You get that in addition to the liability payout. So umbrella policy, very important to have.
Not just insurance for your umbrella.
That's right. It is not.
All right, I have another question. What is the biggest concern for homeowners insurance right now?
Yeah, so we talked about it earlier. It's the replacement cost for homes. With supply chain issues, you know, homes are going up in replacement cost. It's costing more to rebuild a house. So if you bought an insurance policy 10 years ago and you haven't revisited the replacement cost, it's a good time to do it. If that house burns to the ground, you can be sure it's going to cost more today to replace it than it did 10 years ago, okay? In addition to that, as houses age, every 3 years, the building codes are updated. So you want to have building codes coverage on that. And what that does is it rebuilds the house to today's building codes. So maybe you need sprinklers or better insulation or different wiring. Building codes coverage pays for those betterments that are required by ordinance and laws.
That's good. How can people get an accurate valuation of their house?
Certainly. So there are two ways to do it. You can always get an appraiser to go out and do it. That usually costs about $500. So many people don't do it. Another way to do it is that we have tools. We are not professionals, but we have tools available to us where we will gather information about your house, your square footage, your construction, number of bathrooms, your decks, garage, and things like that. And we put it into this estimator, and the estimator will pop out a replacement cost for us. So it takes a little bit of time, but it's something that we typically do every time we write a policy. A replacement cost estimate is something Avery Hall agents do whenever they look at a policy.
Mm-hmm.
So easy.
And when somebody makes like a big change to their house, like they add a new wing or something, it's fine to like wait like a year before they call their insurance agent, right?
Oh goodness, no. So if you were to take a drive through Montego Bay in Ocean City, you don't have manufactured homes there anymore. You have these beautiful modular homes or site-built homes. And so if you were to replace your manufactured home with this beautiful modular home or site-built home, don't wait. You make sure we do that replacement cost right away.
Mm-hmm. All right, what time we got? We're gonna wrap up here. Do you want to tell people, if people have more questions, they can certainly put them in the comments of this video, because I'm going to post it once we're done. Or if they want to reach out to you, how do they get in contact with you?
Certainly. The best way to do it is just do by email. My email is simple. It's tbole@averyhall.com. Send me an email and I'll get back to you right away, or call us here. And that phone call will be directed to me and we'll be happy to help.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.